Yo, what's going on, guys? Chris Barner here, Overtime Athletes. Question I often get are, what are the best exercises for plyometric exercises for basketball? Now, I get a lot of people who ask me these questions. Hey, what plyometrics should I be doing for basketball? Answer is, there's hundreds of different plyometrics. You should start at a foundational base, and you should progress your way all the way up to enhance the level of your jumping capabilities, right? And throughout that spectrum, depending on where the athlete is at and how you want to progress them or how they're progressing, is how you would implement and basically strategize the stimulus you're applying, which is the plyometric. But if I had to narrow it down to three, essentially what I would do is I would go from a lowest level. I would focus on one that is highly vertical, because you obviously are producing a lot of vertical force when you're playing the game of basketball because you want to jump higher. And then third would be your actual change of direction and how rapidly you could change direction with the plyometric. So getting right into it. Number one, what I'll actually do is make this a 2-for-1, and what I'll say is, from a low-level plyometric, two that you should be performing would be a Pogo Jump, which is essentially across the ankle, and a squat jump. You can even get and progress this into a lunge jump, but in any event, what you want to do is you want to be able to quickly absorb and produce force rapidly. I would do this in the beginning of the off season. I typically do it for a series of sets, anywhere from 2 to 5 for 10 seconds. Reason being is because of the transferability onto the court. An athlete who plays basketball is constantly going to have to reproduce those jumps. If you focus on them, isolate them, and elevate them here in your actual training, what you're going to see is a high transferability over to the actual court. 1 for endurance, 2 for the absorption and production of force out of each continuous jump, and 3 to better overall have them produce a higher quality movement. If you're doing that in your training, it's going to produce a higher quality movement when you get on the court. Now, for number 2, when it comes to your vertical jump, I do a series of vertical jumps, single leg, approach with a rhythm, reactive, things of that nature. But if I had to narrow it down to one that you had to progress to, I would say it would be a resisted med ball box jump. And the reason why I really like these is because the athlete needs to be able to hold a resistance, which comes in the form of a 10-pound medicine ball, say, and be able to produce that vertical force the same way they would. The reason why I like holding a med ball is because, one, it mimics a ball being in your hand, so it's a little bit more specific to your sport, but also because what it does is you take the leverage out of your actual arms when jumping, and what it does is it forces the basketball athlete to be able to transfer energy through the trunk up into the upper body, right? So you have to be able to sustain stability in that trunk to hold the medicine ball. I like to progress from holding it at my chest to holding it overhead, which gets a lot tougher. It also isolates the lower half and makes you produce a little bit more force out of that lower half. Like I said, you're eliminating that leverage from the arms. So there's a plethora of vertical jump exercises I had that you could check out on the channel. But if there was one that I had to narrow down to that we would progress to in the off season, it would be the med ball box jump. Finally, for number 3, it will be able to transfer forces multi-directional. Now there's plenty of different multi-directional plyometrics we could do. I usually start off in straight lateral, but what my favorite drill would be that we would want to progress to would be a single leg broad to 90-degree broad. And the reason why I like this drill is because a lot of times basketball players are faced with having momentum being in one direction and having to transfer forces immediately. Now, the reason why I like this drill is because there's 3 parts to it. There's essentially a deceleration, which is the first jump. The athlete needs to decelerate on the first leg. A transition phase, which is essentially the amortization phase, which is kind of which is the ground contact, which we want to eliminate how much ground contact we have. We don't want to get stuck in the mud in that transition. And then it's the concentric phase, where the athlete needs to be able to produce force rapidly and a lot of it, right? So again, it's eccentric transition and then concentric. And by doing that and teaching that, it's a little bit more specific. So I like to isolate and elevate this 90-degree jump out of that single leg, out of both legs, inside and out, and I see a high transferability over to the court for basketball players. So there you have it. I hate to be pigeon-toed, but I always try to give you guys my best and my best insight. I just got done training one of our guys here who played basketball at a high level, and 3 staples that I saw that really supported him: low-level continuous jumps, med ball box jump, single leg broad to 90, multi-directional or change of direction jump on the unilateral single leg front. So I hope that helps. Holler at you guys next time.